The UFC White House card was announced, and people are shitting on it, man. People are dogging it. And to me, I mean, not trying to pull like the fake hardcore shit, it's not that bad. It really is not that bad. Sure, the UFC might have overpromised, over-delivered. You know, we're going to blow out Noche. We're going to blow out UFC 300. This is going to be the biggest badass card of the UFC's history. Do we really trust Dana White? Like, are people seriously to that point where it's like, yeah, we believe Dana White now. Like, he's saying this, we're going to fucking believe him. Dude, what the fuck? I'm sorry, but it's the back to the pick and choosing. Why are people putting their hopes into Dana White in the UFC? Why? To me, it's not that bad. You got 2 title fights. One's obviously an interim title. We're going to jump into the interim title right fucking away, okay? Because that's probably the biggest gripe I've got with this and what people are saying, because who the fuck wanted Jon Jones versus Pereira? I get that was a cool fight. Pereira is only moving up to fight for the belt. Why the fuck would we give Jones and Pereira put a belt on the line for that shit? Why the fuck should the UFC be rewarding Jon Jones with the belt? And if there's no belt on the line, that fight is pointless. It's a legacy fight. But why the fuck are we rewarding Jon Jones, who sat out for 2 fucking years, sat out for 2.5 years ducking Aspinall, and then reward him with Alex Pereira? That is bullshit. That's the gimmicky shit. You know, when people want to say the UFC is gimmicky, it's for entertainment. Why are people pissed that we didn't get Jon Jones Pereira? Seriously, that would be the most gimmicky bullshit shit ever. Bullshit shit, yes. I just don't get why people are fine rewarding Jones now. After the past few years, people were just calling him duck. He would not fight Aspinall. He retired over fighting Aspinall, but now people are pissed he's not here fighting Pereira. Pereira is literally only moving up to heavyweight to fucking challenge for a belt. Why the fuck? It just makes zero sense to me. Gane, who else? I'm sorry, but who else? He should be it. I get he's, no one fucking likes Gane, okay? He's not the most entertaining guy. But he just fought for the belt, and it was inconclusive. So you obviously have to put him in there. And maybe it's, why are we rewarding him after the eye poke, blah, blah, blah. But shit like this is where I kind of have to give the UFC props. You can't just keep dogging the UFC. You have to give them props. For me, it's still a sport. Okay, you gotta strip it down to the sport aspect. I know it's the weird where it's entertaining, it's prize fighting. It's a sport, obviously, but it's entertainment. And, there's going to be some WWE aspects into it. But you have to keep it at a sport level. Like, this is what I like to see. Who else is going to fucking fight for the heavyweight belt? Waldo Cortez Acosta? I'm sorry, but, no. Maybe after one more fight. But, it makes the most sense on a sports level. You give Pereira the immediate interim title shot. You give Gane the immediate interim title shot as well. Why the fuck are we sitting here bitching that Jon Jones is not on the card after the last, like I said, I've been saying it the last 2 years. People were bitching that he wasn't fighting Aspinall and that he was a duck and he's holding up the heavyweight division. Jon Jones ruined the fucking heavyweight division, and now people are pissed he's not on this card fighting Pereira. Say Jones beats Pereira. Then what? Pereira moves up for what? He's only moving up for a belt. Okay, Jones wins. There's no belt on the line in that fight, because if Jones wins the interim fucking heavyweight belt, he's going to just retire. He's not going to fight Aspinall. It would just ruin the heavyweight division. I get they were potentially in talks for this shit. Both parties, Jones saying they were, Dana White saying they weren't. Who knows? It's literally like the two dumb bitches telling each other yes. No one fucking is going to believe either. You just sit back, relax, and watch this stupid-ass drama play out between Jones and fucking Dana White. I am glad that we did not get Pereira Jones. I don't give a fuck, because the sport, entertainment, yes, but the sport, it's a sport. We have to keep that layer of sportiness in the UFC. We cannot let it stray too far into the entertainment. Okay? It's fine occasionally, and that's what pisses people off, but why does it not piss people off when Jones was being entertained versus Pereira? It just makes no fucking sense why fans are pissed that he would be rewarded with fighting Alex Pereira after ducking Tom Aspinall for 2.5 years, ruining the heavyweight division, and now people are pissed. Pereira gone is a great, especially as the co-main event. That is a great fucking co-main event. That is one of the best co-main events for a belt you can get. That's probably the fucking best. You get Pereira fighting for a third belt. Okay? Topuria Gaethje. And before I get into the Topuria Gaethje, it really did. I seen a couple tweets where it sounded like, more stuff's coming out about fighters being like, oh, they asked me within the last week, hey, what are you interested in fighting on the White House card? And then they didn't find out until like Thursday, Friday night that they were actually fighting on the card. Like Gaethje, like Sean O'Malley, like Diego Lopez. It, to me, sounds like, I've seen a couple tweets, like I was saying, that this shit was like thrown together in the last 2 weeks. I really don't know what the fuck the UFC was planning on doing or like planning this whole fucking time. Maybe they were going through, and I seen a couple tweets where, Lopez said they asked him, or it was either Lopez or Garcia, they asked him, hey, like, do you have anything that could get you, like, to not fight on this card? Like, any background issues, blah, blah, blah. So maybe there was stuff like that involving fighters, but I really don't know. It sounds, and it seems like they really kind of rushed this, but maybe they didn't. I really don't fucking know. It's the UFC. You can't take what they say with... You just can't take what they say truthfully. You really fucking can't. So Topuria Gaethje obviously was put together. It seemed like at the last minute because it seemed like Topuria versus fucking Islam was going to be the fight, man. Oh, my God. Could you imagine? Just imagine Topuria versus fucking Islam on supposedly the biggest card of the fucking UFC. It's the biggest badass card ever. Damn, that would have been so fucking fire. But that just means we are this close. If Topuria wins, and if I think Islam defends one more time, we are getting that fight. Or if Topuria wins, they just fucking booked that fight, Islam Topuria, for Madison Square Garden in November this year. I really think we are about 1-2 fights away from actually getting this fucking card. All Topuria has to do is not get fluked by this man, Justin Gaethje. Okay? But damn, that would have been sick. Topuria Gaethje, can you really complain? Can the UFC really do anything else? They needed an American on the main event, especially for a belt on the line. No other American besides like Sean O'Malley would have fought for a belt. And even at that, people would have been bitching if it was O'Malley versus Petr Yan in the fucking headline of the White House card. So you make Gaethje versus Topuria. Obviously, everyone knew that was the fight. If Topuria wasn't fighting for Islam, this is obviously the fight you make because Gaethje is the interim title holder, even though he should be fighting Arman. Gaethje is the interim title holder. So Topuria slimes out Gaethje. Come on. How can you not? Especially after that fucking tweet Topuria puts out, man. Calling out Islam. Like, that was aura, bro. No glaze. That was fucking badass. That was badass by Topuria. But you can't really complain about Topuria Gaethje. You get a fucking free knockout. Either Rufus fucking gets a fluke KO. That's the only way he's winning. Topuria gets a flatline knockout in round 1. The top 2 fights, how can you really sit here and fucking bitch, especially knowing that the UFC genuinely tried to do Topuria versus Islam? I would love to know the narrative of this card if we got that fight. Would people be glazing this card? I don't fucking know. And the fact that people are bitching and complaining that it was only 6 fights, dude, the UFC has said multiple times this is going to be about 6 or 7 fights, and there is a potential to add a 7th fight. They've been talking about potentially adding a 7th fight. Who fucking knows what that would be? If it would be, an opening, like a fight before Lopez Garcia, or a featured fight over O'Malley Zahabi. Who knows? It's the UFC. No one fucking knows. It could be added the week of this card. So don't hold your breath. It would be cool to see what they add for a 7th fight. Maybe they're cooking. Who knows? On top of that, who knows what the fuck the fallout fight was? He said it wasn't John Jones versus Pereira. That didn't fall out. He said the fight that wasn't the one that fell out was Islam Topuria. Dana White. So who the fuck knows what happened between that fight that fell out? And like I said, it just kind of seemed a little bit rushed for how much they've been, glazing and saying they're, matchmaking and doing all this and blah, blah, blah for the card. It just seemed a little bit rushed on the UFC's part. And there was a report. God, I forget what it was. I'm kind of going on a ramble and rant. But there was a report recently saying that the UFC has never been more dysfunctional as like the head, part of the UFC, the head branch of the UFC. And it genuinely shows with this card, and it just shows with the matchmaking. It shows with the card announcements. Still Dana White going on Instagram Live. It shows with the card announcements that haven't been announced. Like, we sat here for how fucking long waiting for Yuri Olberg to be announced. We sat here for how fucking long for these title belts, because clearly there's only one unification belt on the line for the Freedom fucking card. They said, we're going to have, 6 title fights. Clearly that's not the fucking case. So where are these cards with the belts on the line? Where is UFC 328? We waited so fucking long for 327. And 326, they had us on our toes for the co-main event just for it to be Kyle Barajo versus RDR. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is what the report was, and it really makes sense because the UFC is so fucking jumbled and out of whack. This is where it needs to be more fucking professional if you're going to be taken seriously as a sport. Could you imagine the NFL waiting and waiting? Like, we know when the NBA is going to release their schedule for the season. We know these hard things. And I know it's, fighters pull out, you're trying to match make. It's, more different in the UFC or it's different in the fighting game. But you still have to you're still a $7 billion company. Get your head out of your asses. Be more professional. I just don't understand that. Moving on. You cannot complain about Topuria Gaethje. You cannot complain about Pereira. You really fucking can about those two. Those are two rock solid fights, especially for, this card that's supposed to be crazy. You get 2 pretty much guaranteed knockouts. Going on to the featured fight, O'Malley Zahabi. Before I talk about this, we all fucking do not sit here and complain and sit here and if you're a fucking fan and if you know the UFC, dude, you knew Bo Nickal was going to be on the card. That was a fucking given. We all knew Michael Chandler was going to be on the card. That was a given. We all knew Sean O'Malley was going to be on the card. That's a given. That's 3 out of 6 fights where we knew one of the challengers, one of the fucking fighters on a fight. That's half the fucking card. We knew. You cannot sit here with a straight face and say, nah, I didn't. Bo Nickal on this card? That shocked me. O'Malley Chandler on this card? That shocked me. You fucking knew that some fighters were going to get slotted in. Colby Covington was another one that people, thought was going to get slotted in because he's the whole America. He's got the whole personality. Sean Strickland did come out and say he's not fighting. He doesn't want to fight on this card, especially because it looks like they're going to book Strickland versus Hamzat, and you're not going to put that on the fucking White House card. You're not going to get Hamzat on the White House lawn, and that card or that fight is too big to be not the head of a card. Like the media, the build-up, everything, that fight needs to be on its own card itself. So you get the Bo Nickal, the Chandler, the O'Malley. Like these are fucking fights you just knew, or fighters you knew were going to be on this card. Like, you cannot sit here with a straight face and tell me that this shit actually shocked you. What shocked me was Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia. That is a badass fight, okay? If you don't know who Steve Garcia is, man, you might know after this fucking fight. He's a crazy knockout artist. Lopez taking a huge, not really that huge because Garcia's in the top 10, but and he's not really that big of a step down, but this is like an ultimate blockhead fight. Great opening fight of this card if they don't add another one before it. You cannot sit here and complain that Lopez Garcia on this card. You really can't. Highlight, this is where the UFC is dipping their toes into the entertainment aspect. You're getting an entertaining fight right here. If Lopez beats Garcia, he's back into the fucking title contention. Or he could potentially move up to lightweight, fight one more time, and challenge for the belt there. Like, who the fuck knows? Or challenge for the BMF. That would be sick as fuck. Bo Nickal. Okay, I'm going in reverse order now, I guess. Fuck O'Malley. We'll talk about O'Malley in a second. Bo Nickal versus Kyle Dawkins, man. This is where I think people, really got their feathers ruffled. We all knew Bo Nickal was going to be on this fucking card. Really, though, Kyle Dawkins, I'm not going to sit here and fucking white knight for the UFC. This is dog shit. We all knew Bo Nickal was going to be on this shit. But Kyle Dawkins, really, this is fucking dog shit, especially over Lopez Garcia. I get you got to start the card off with a banger. But are we fucking being dead ass? Kyle Dawkins on the supposed biggest card of the UFC ever. We couldn't get Bot Nickal a ranked fucking opponent. Fuck giving him a layup. Dude, low-key rooting for Kyle Dawkins to fucking fluke this motherfucker, Bot Nickal. That would be crazy. I know they're both from America, but still, Bot Nickal is like Captain America Jr. You got Kobe Covington, Sean Strickland, and then Bot Nickal. It's literally like the big three of fucking Captain America, the fucking Bucky Barnes, and the Winter Soldier, whatever the fuck, man. It's literally them three. So Bot Nickal on this shit shouldn't surprise anyone, but the matchup is what is really fucking annoying. I mean, it's the UFC, dude. They're fucking trying to give Nickal a layup. He just had a crazy knockout, but like, dude, seriously, Kyle Dawkins, we couldn't get Bot Nickal anybody. Like, so if people want to sit here and bitch about that fight, by all means, this is the biggest fight probably that you can bitch about, because it's just like, it's fucking ridiculous. It's literally just like, and I've got it pulled up and we're going to talk about it. UFC 300. You had Bot Nickal on UFC 300. At the time, that was the biggest fight card of all time in the UFC. And we had fucking Bot Nickal versus Cody Brundage on the main card. Okay, we'll get to that card in a second to compare them. But the Nickal-Dawkins fight, if you want to hate on that shit, hate on it. Okay, but you cannot sit here and say, what the fuck, Bot Nickal? Like, we all knew that shit was coming. Next, Roofy versus Chandler. Should be no surprise Chandler's on this shit. But Roofy, what the fuck, man? What are they doing with this shit? This is where the entertainment. You get the blockhead fight opening the main card. You get, hopefully, Mr. Bot Nickal getting Captain America Jr. getting a knockout or getting an entertainment dominant win. Roofy Chandler, you're getting a fucking Roofy knockout. O'Malley's a hobby. You're getting an O'Malley showcase, a master class. So this is where the entertainment aspect comes in. Roofy Chandler, what the actual fuck? Roofy should be getting a step up in competition, not a step down. But this is where the entertainment fucking factor comes in. And this is what really pisses off the fans. Because this should be a sport. Roofy should be fighting up. If you want Chandler on this fucking card, get him against someone else. Like, you're not getting... We're going to talk about this too. Fuck it. McGregor. What the fuck did people really think McGregor was going to be on this card? It's the same with John Jones. Fuck John Jones being on this card. Did people genuinely think that shit was happening? And what the fuck is people thinking when they thought McGregor was going to be on this fucking card, man? Like, actually, why did people think McGregor was going to be on this card? He is going to headline a card. He is probably going to headline International Fight Week. That is my like low-key bold prediction, is you get McGregor versus who the fuck knows. Apparently, he was supposed to fight Prates. They were trying to look into booking that. Obviously, they went Prates JDM. Much better fight. Who knows who McGregor's going to fucking fight? They're talking about Oliveira or whoever the won the BMF. Dude, Oliveira knocks his ass out in round 1 or 2. But you get, I think, McGregor headlining International Fight Week against whoever. And I think the co-main for that is going to be Petr Yan versus Merab. I really think those are the two fights for International Fight Week. McGregor headlining it. Because you cannot have McGregor. Would McGregor headline a non-title fight with McGregor? Headline over Topuria? Headline over Pereira? You know, maybe if the Topuria-Gaethje fight didn't fall through and you had McGregor as the headline, you'd get an interim title fight. I could see Pereira still being the co-main because he's kind of humble and it's McGregor, you know. What then people would be bitching that we're only getting an interim title fight. We're not even getting a belt on the line, a real unification belt on the line for the fucking White House card. If you had McGregor on this shit. McGregor would have been right here with 2 title fights on the line. He would have been in the O'Malley slot. He would have been in the fucking featured fight of the night. You don't put Conor McGregor as the co-main. He has to headline a card, and he's not headlining over Topuria. He's not headlining over Pereira, hopefully. I could see him headlining over someone in a bantamweight division for a title, flyweight division for a title. That makes sense. But someone like Topuria, who is one of the biggest stars in the UFC, Pereira, who is the biggest star in the UFC, you're not getting McGregor on this fucking card. It makes no sense. Could you imagine if we had McGregor Chandler as the headline of this fucking card and then the fights below it? It would be fucking dog shit. Like, I don't know why people are bitching that they wanted Pereira Jones, McGregor versus Chandler, McGregor versus someone else. Cool, maybe in fucking Fantasyland, but what makes sense and the logistics behind it, it doesn't make any sense to put McGregor on this fucking card if he's not headlining. And if he was headlining, that would be terrible. The card would be so much fucking worse if McGregor was headlining it. He needs his own card, and usually McGregor cards are notorious, no pun intended, for being bad. Because McGregor himself, and I know it's not pay-per-view, McGregor himself will bring in millions of eyes to the card. And then you can just kind of throw a card below it because you're pulling in with McGregor. So I think him at International Fight Week makes so much more sense. You get Petr Yan versus Merab for the bantamweight title as the co-main. You just could not do McGregor on this fucking card. Where does he fit on this card? Because guess what? All those eyes that were watching McGregor, if he was on the featured fight of the night, McGregor's not going to be in the featured fight of the night. It just makes no sense. It really makes no sense. And I'm telling you, if he was the headline for this fucking card, he would not take a co-main. McGregor is going to headline a card. Why would they do that? It's the same reason why they're not doing Khamzat versus Strickland on this shit. You're not going to stack a crazy media, a crazy build-up, a crazy hype fight and kind of throw it in here. Where would Khamzat Strickland have fit into this card? Like, I know it wasn't realistic, but like realistically, where would it have fit? The co-main? The main? Like, Topuria is probably a bigger star than Khamzat. He's definitely a bigger star than Strickland, but Strickland is the America guy. It doesn't fit. Logistically, the McGregor fight does not fit on this card. I don't know why people are shocked that McGregor's not on this card. It just makes no sense. But Rufy Chandler, you knew you're getting Chandler. Rufy, he should be fighting up. I really like Rufy versus Holloway. Maybe, hopefully we can get that book. That would be a badass fucking striking fight, obviously. But you're just going there. You get Rufy getting a knockout. I mean, Chandler's going to turn his brain off. Chandler's never in a fucking boring fight. Maybe Rufy goes in there, starches him out in round one. You get another round one knockout. It just, on paper, that fight makes no sense. You get two good enough names, recognizable names, but the matchmaking doesn't make sense, if that makes sense. Like, I think more people are pissed off at the matchmaking. If we had Rufy versus someone else and Chandler versus someone else in this card with better matchmaking, then it would be fine. But this matchmaking makes zero sense, especially with Rufy, a good prospect, someone who should be fighting up and not fighting down. But this is where the entertainment factor comes in. You're hoping fucking Rufy gets a knockout. You got to give Chandler a fucking on the White House card. He's been on his hands and knees praying to Dana White, praying to fucking Lord Jesus himself to be on this fucking card. So it is what it is. That should not shock anyone. The matchmaking does shock people, and it shocks me. But that's not it's literally like, I don't know, it's not like a terrible fight, but like it just doesn't make any sense, okay? O'Malley's a hobby. People were fucking bitching and moaning that we didn't get O'Malley versus Sanhagen. I think O'Malley revealed that the UFC or Hunter Campbell came to him like, hey, you're interested on the White House card? O'Malley said, obviously, like, what the fuck? He's like, okay, how about Zahabi? I know O'Malley's been asking for Zahabi, and I know Sanhagen's been, and the fans have been calling for O'Malley versus Sanhagen. But the UFC, once again, this is where it makes no sense. Like, we're on Zahabi as the featured fight of the biggest card of all time, quote unquote, from fucking Dana White. We're just trying to showcase O'Malley's striking skills. We're trying to get an O'Malley masterclass on this card. It's America, Canada. You're trying to get the Americans the fucking layup. I know Rufy is not a layup for Chandler, but O'Malley should be able to finish or should be able to take care of Amin Zahobo. Like, once again, it's the matchmaking that doesn't really make any sense. This fight would be a lot better on a different card, but, you know, if you're going to fucking hype this card up to what the UFC hyped it up to be, this fight logistically does not make any sense. Logistically doesn't make any sense. But it's not a terrible fight. It would be a good, I'm not even going to say co-main to a numbered card. This would be a great featured fight on a regular pay-per-view card. But if you're going to glaze the UFC White House event, it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths seeing fucking Amin Zahabi on this fucking card, okay? But I get why they did it. You have to be realistic and understand where the UFC is coming from. You think they want Sanhagen going out there And I'm not saying he would, but crotch sniffing O'Malley, like, Sanhagen would go for the takedowns. He would shoot on Sean O'Malley. The UFC needs O'Malley to put on a masterclass in the striking. You're trying to impress. You have so many more eyes on the sport with this event. It's a spectacle, okay? You have so many people who have never watched the UFC that will be watching this for the first time. They want to watch striking. They want to watch boxing. They want to watch knockouts. That's what the UFC is doing with this card. Aside from the fucking Bot Nickal fight, but I understand why he's on that shit. Who knows? Bot Nickal might go in there, fucking starch Kyle Dawkins. But you have to understand, this is what I don't get. Are people genuinely shocked that the UFC went this route? There's no way people aren't. It's just, I get people wanted more and expected more. I expected more too. But you have to peel it back, be a little bit realistic. This fight kind of sucks for this card. It's a great fight for a different card. But it is what it is. Sean O'Malley, one of the biggest stars. You love him, you hate him. On the younger generation, O'Malley is a huge star. Okay? You're getting so many more eyes on the sport with this card. It makes sense why the UFC did this shit. It makes sense why the UFC made O'Malley as a hobby. It is what it is. Okay? So I get why people are pissed that Zahabi's on this card. Kyle Dawkins is on this card. You know, if you don't know, Steve Garcia, you know, who the fuck is Steve Garcia? Okay, but Steve Garcia, he's a badass, all right? Gone. Like, where's these Pereira? Where's McGregor? Where's these, these household names? Like, it's just not logistically, I don't know how many fucking times I need to say it in this video, logistically possible for Jones, McGregor, Topuria, Islam, all these fucking names to be on this card. Or for 6 title fights to be on this card. It's just not possible. I don't know what the fuck people genuinely thought. Like, what the fuck, man? Use your head. I'm pissed. All right? I'm starting to get pissed off now. Like, this just makes no sense. It's not a bad card. Did we expect more? Yes. But really thinking, did we really expect more? Like, what the fuck did we expect? No, we did not want John Jones in this bullshit. Okay? Obviously, we didn't want Zahabi on this card. We didn't want Kyle Dawkins on this card. We wanted a better matchmaking with Michael Chandler and Rufy. But it is what it is. It's not bad. It really is not bad. I think if they weren't, hyping this up to be this obviously it's a once in a lifetime fight card, but the best, we're going to get the best matchups, we're going to get the best fights, the best fighters, the biggest fights on this card, they're building it up. That's what the UFC does. That's what fucking fans are also bitching about. You can't sit here and complain and be like, well, the UFC doesn't hype up anything. They don't talk up, they don't build their fights, they don't build, the hype for cards. They tried, and then when they underperformed or underdelivered on this card, relative to people's expectations for this card, I mean, what were they supposed to do? Be like, yeah, we're going to do a White House card, once in a lifetime event, and we're just going to, it'll be cool. Like, no, they're going to go all in. They're going to have so many more eyes on the sport that haven't watched the sport before. But I get why people are pissed that seeing Zahabi and Dawkins are the 2 biggest glaring issues with this fucking card. Gon Pereira, I'm sorry. If you're not a genuine UFC fan, that fight makes sense, okay? Topuria Gaethje, they tried Topuria Islam. They actually tried that. They tried to get the biggest fight in the sport on this card, okay? And it fell through with Islam's hand issue. That just means we're that closer. The more I kind of think it prolongs, the more it builds this mystique of the fight and the more hype it gets. I know it would have been crazy on the White House lawn, the biggest, the once-in-a-lifetime generational card. But I think, if Topuria gets another crazy knockout, if Islam defends his welterweight belt again, or defends his belt one more time, like, they're just slowly building to, like, the GOAT resume, and they're obviously already 1 and 2 pound for pound, but, like, each fight, they're going to lap each other in pound for pound. But I think the more, and I know there's more potential for them to lose their next fight, but do we really think Topuria is losing this? Do we think Islam is losing to someone else? Like, no. I think the more slowly it builds, and obviously it would have been cool here, but if they each get one more fight, or if Topuria gets one more fight and he's shit talking, it's just going to build up to here into an even bigger fucking fight. That's gonna be awesome. Like, we're just that much closer to this fight actually happening. It would have been cool on the White House card. It would have been generational. It really would have been generational. But it is what it is. Who knows if Topuria would have had to vacate his belt and Justin fucking Gaethje would have been unified champion. That would have been crazy. But I just really didn't know what people genuinely expected. They came out and said this is going to be 6-7 fights. And, on paper, it does maybe seem a little bit underwhelming. But I'm going to compare this quick. I'm going to pull up UFC 300 because I've seen tweets and Reddit posts and TikTok saying this card is so much better. This card mogs the fuck. This card maxing the fuck out of the White House card. Dude, look at this shit. Do not look past Yuri Rakic because there's only 6 fights on the White House card. Okay? So don't look at Sterling Cater. Don't look at Holm Harrison, Lopez Yusuf. Don't look at that shit. Because if the UFC White House card was as many fights as the UFC 300, it probably would be comparative. I get the prelims. Some of them were pretty good on this. Like you get Figgy versus Garbrandt opening this card. But then Jim Miller versus fucking King Green. Like, are people pissed? People are pissed we're not getting this in the White House card. So look at Yuri Rakic up until Pereira Hill. That is 6 fights versus the 6 White House fights. And in my opinion, it is very, very close. It's very relative because we'll go fight by fight. Yuri Rakic, to me, that is comparable to the Lopez Garcia fight. You get 2 blockheads, 2 guys. It's going to be a war. It's going to be entertaining. You get that fight opening the fucking card. That is just pure entertainment, okay? 2 fan favorites, Lopez, Yuri, Rakic, Garcia, guys that have knockout power that can make this an entertaining scrap. Those fights, they're a wash to me, okay? Bot Nickal versus Cody Brundage. Like, people are saying this card mogs the fuck. This is card maxing out of the White House card. Dude, yeah, Bot Nickal versus Brundage. This is the same fucking fight. It's literally copy fucking pasted. Copy pasted. Bot Nickal versus Kyle Dawkins. Bot Nickal versus Cody Brundage on the 2 at the time biggest fights. The UFC 300 at the time was the biggest fight of all time in the UFC history. White House card, supposedly the biggest fight card in UFC history. Bot Nickal, Kyle Dawkins. Bot Nickal, Cody Brundage. What the fuck has changed? That is the same thing. You cannot say this card is better than the White House card. Looking at that shit, it's the fucking same. It's people were pissed, dude. You had Yuri Prohaska, one of the biggest fan favorites, a former champion, on the undercard under this fucking fight. Like, what the fuck? You have Bot Nickal on the main. Like, it's just that is a copy paste. Moving on, you got Oliveira versus Sarukian. Obviously, Oliveira, fucking fan favorite, former champion at this point. Arman Sarukian was relatively we did not get the Arman hype. We didn't get the Arman mystique as to what it is now into UFC 300. I can guarantee you people are like, oh, this is a good fight. But, dude, if that was what it was now, yes. But at the time, Sarukian, no. Like, that is also comparable. Let me pull it up quick. Sarukian versus Oliveira. It's comparable to Rufy Chan. Like, it's not at all. It's definitely a better fight. Charles, I'm not even going to fucking hold you. No. It's definitely, so right now, UFC 300 has a 1-up. Okay? It has a 1-up on the White House card because Oliveira Sarukian, that is a better fight. But you cannot sit here and tell me when this card got announced that we were all hyped to see Sarukian. It was the Oliveira. I'm telling you, it was Oliveira. Maybe if you're a diehard, but all the casuals were hyped for Oliveira. Dude, it was... Sarukian did not have the level of hype he did now. He did not have the aura he does now. Okay? Holloway Gaethje. Badass fight. Obviously, people are going to favor it because they remember the fucking last second knockout. But take a moment to remember before this fucking fight. I get it's for the BMF belt. We cannot sit here and say there's 3 belts on the fucking line and say one's the BMF belt and say that really genuinely fucking matters. Okay? Gaethje Holloway. If you kind of sandwich O'Malley Zahabi, Rufy Chandler, I get those are 2 bigger names, Gaethje, Holloway. Maybe I'm coping right now. But it's really not that fucking far. Guys, it really fucking isn't. I get it's a better fight. So right now there's 2 fights that are better. You ain't going to let me forget about these last 2, though. These last 2 fights are dog shit compared to the White House card. And this is where I'm saying I think the White House card's so much better. You get Topuria Gaethje compared to Jamal Hill. Dude, Jamal fucking Hill Pereira. Pereira saved this card. If we remember correctly, Pereira saved UFC 300. This was like a last second fight. This was like one of the last fucking fights to be on the card, and it was the fucking main event. No one knew what the main event was. Pereira stepped in, had to save this shit against Jamal Hill. I'm sorry, are we sitting here saying Jamal Hill? I know he's a former champion, and at the time, I don't care. Even at the time, Jamal Hill wasn't this crazy. It's not like he was fresh off the fucking belt, dude. This was a last second fight. No one was that big on Jamal Hill. Like, no, you cannot sit here and say Jamal Hill at any point was ever a star. He won the belt off of an old Glover Teixeira, and then he vacated the belt because of an injury. And then they put this fight as the fucking main event. I get it was, once again, we have to peel back the layers. Are we forgetting what the reaction was before the fight? I get the fight had aura. It was, the Pereira, the nut shot, hold on, and then he knocks out Jamal Hill. But we have to go into this before the fucking knockouts, before the actual fights. This fight is dog shit compared to fucking Topuria or Gaethje. It's dog shit. And then do not let me, I'm sorry, but Jamal Hill is not that big of a star, but do not let me get on Weili Zhang. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the bitch's fucking first name, versus Yan. Okay? China versus China in the main event, or the co-main event. I get there's a belt on the line. Pereira Gan is so much better. So much better. That fucking fight is comparable to Kyle Dawkins versus Bot Nickal. I don't give a fuck. No one is sitting here. No one was fucking hyped. UFC 300, the biggest card ever. Really? Maybe if it was Weili versus Shevchenko at this point. But dude, are we serious fucking right now? Like, are we serious? How many of you can name who Weili Zhang is fighting? Genuinely, how many of you can fucking name her? You cannot sit here and say this card is so much better. It fucking mops the floor. We've got two fights that are probably better than some. But the main two fucking fights are dog shit compared to two belts. I know one's an interim. Topuria versus Gaethje. So much better as the main event than this fucking Pereira versus Hill. Pereira versus Ciryl Gane is 10, 100 million fucking trillion times better than Weili Zhang as the co-main event. I don't give a fuck. So that's where it's like you have to even it out. I get Gaethje Holloway and Oliveira Sarukian. Maybe now, once again, I think we're forgetting what Sarukian was before this card. They're better fights, yes. But then look at the fucking main event. So like the middle of the fucking cards, this one, UFC 300 is probably a little bit better. But look, the top two main events. I'm sorry, these two mog the fuck. Topuria Gaethje, Pereira Gane. Even O'Malley's a hobby. If you don't like it, it's not that fucking bad. But I get compared to Holloway versus Gaethje and Sarukian Oliveira. All right? But you cannot sit here and tell me that those two main events, fucking Pereira versus Jamal Hill, a last second addition to UFC 300, Pereira had to save the day. Jamal Hill had to save the fucking day with this card. Weili Zhang is the co-main event, dude. If anything, they're equal, but I think the White House card is so much better. Looking at the top 6 fights, you cannot look at past that, okay? Because if there was more fights to this, I think it would not even be a question that the White House card would be 10 times better. But people want to look past them more than the 6 fights, obviously. But we knew going into this that there were only going to be 6 fucking fights. So I think these 6 fights, I really think this card is so much better than UFC 300. You cannot sit here and say UFC 300 card was so much better and that was a badass. We actually got good fights and this and that. Nah, dude. You cannot sit here and say Pereira Jamal Hill is a better main event than Topuria Gaethje. You cannot sit here and say Weili Zhang is better than any of these fucking fights in the card. I don't care. It is comparable to Bot Nickal. And we still had a Bot Nickal, Cody Brundage, Bot Nickal, Kyle Dawkins. Dude, copy fucking paste on both cards, man. So if you want to say those are two of the worst, Weili Zhang doesn't even hold a fucking... I don't care, dude. No one is hyped for that shit. That doesn't hold a candle to any of these fucking fights. That would open the goddamn fight. If it was Weili Zhang versus Shevchenko, Weili Zhang versus who the fuck knows, a bigger name. I'm sorry, but dude, that shit was dog shit. Especially now how Weili Zhang fight. Like, I mean, that was obviously you can't say that now, but people need to shut up. Shut the fuck up, man. I'm pissed. I'm not mad. I'm pissed, man. This is not that bad. Maybe this is me trying to be a fake hardcore and weasel my way into like copium. But I think people needed to temper their expectations. We're really trusting Dana White now. And did we really, really, really think we're getting John Jones and McGregor and Topuria and Islam and Sean O'Malley and Bot Nickal and fucking whoever the fuck else, Sean Strickland, Hamzat, all these fights? No, that was never a possibility. This is not that terrible of a card. The matchups kind of stink, but this is really not that bad of a fucking card. Okay? Stop trusting Dana fucking White. Stop trusting the Baldy. All right? Go with your gut feeling. Start knowing some ball. And opening your fucking eyes. Opening that third eye, man. We knew that O'Malley, Chandler, Nickal was going to be on this card. If you didn't, I'm sorry to tell you, buddy. But, yeah. Like I said, maybe it's copium. When they first announced this and showed it at 326 this last Saturday, I didn't hate it. My immediate reaction was Bot Nickal, Kyle Dawkins, like, what the fuck? But the rest were like, that's not bad. It's kind of what I expected. So, yeah, I guess that's my thoughts, my takes. If you have any opposing, let me know what you think. If you think UFC 300 is better, tell me why. You cannot count the fights before the Yuri fight, okay? We're taking the top 6 fights from each card. If you think UFC 300 is better, what would you change to the White House card? Let me know in the comments. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you. I appreciate you. Love you. Bye.